Hello Indie Game fan, it's another great week of indie games, so let's begin with Miniland Adventure, a crafting sandbox title that looks very compelling, where you're venturing out into the world to gather resources, upgrade your base, craft new tools, and then go out even further, looking to follow the blueprint of games like Terraria and looks kind of awesome.
All falling apart. Multiverse is collapsing under its own weight. Each world falls more out of balance the further they diverge from ours.
What can we do about it?
We force them back together.
There are a number of side-scrollers of interest this week, such as Trinity Fusion, a roguelike platformer that takes place across multiple dimensions, where you play as 3 alternate versions of the same character on a multiverse-saving adventure. This definitely has a sci-fi slant to the title, with some intimidating mechanical bosses where the minute-to-minute action looks great, and I do wonder how they integrate together. There are supposed to be permanent upgrades that you can get in the hub area, which allows for progression from run to run, and so it looks to be another great addition to the genre. Hey, if you made it this far, subscribe to my weekly newsletter to keep on top of all things indie games, link in the description below. Similarly, we have a number of promising first-person shooters as well, such as MEATGRINDER, an all-action title that, most interestingly, has you jumping from one moving vehicle to the next. It's not only limited to trucks and trains, but even planes for some reason as well, but I'm pretty sure that physics does not work like that, which is why it adds to the insanity of the action. However, according to the developers, there are no story or cutscenes, just one action sequence after the next, so depending on what you're looking for, might not be that appealing. We have had a sudden influx of reverse city builders, games that play with the concept of SimCity but in different ways, with Flooded being the latest example. This is a level-based title in which you are attempting to gather resources so that you can flee to safety before the island gets flooded, adding time pressure and reversing the expansion aspect of this genre. As such, it's an intriguing inversion and twist on the core concept, so it is something different, where the different biomes and levels will provide different challenges. Another first-person shooter of interest is Boundary, one that is set in space of all places, which is their unique twist. I'm not sure if the weapons are hit scan or if there's somehow bullet drop in this, or rather, how firing a gun in the vacuum of space even works, but I suppose it's a game so we have to take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, it is supposed to have realistic elements based on real-world technology and space exploration. There are different character classes to choose from, like in a Battlefield game, but where 0G means that enemies can literally come from every direction, which is pretty intriguing.
There is nothing in this world that cannot be explained with logic and reason. Nothing in this world.
There is evil afoot. Strangeness and savagery like I have never seen. Something otherworldly festering in the dark beyond our reach. Every fiber of the earth, every molecule reverberates in anticipation of the awakening.
Developer Frogwares, for lack of a better term, is a B game developer, but have made some cult classics such as The Sinking City, where that unfortunately got caught up with some issues with their publisher, but they are back with Sherlock Holmes The Awakened, following a long line of other Sherlock Holmes games that they have made, but where this time it combines it with cosmic horror and Lovecraftian influence, being an intriguing mixture of their other games.
For you, the final problem approaches, and you too shall fall.
It's real. All of it, it's real.
Smaller games begin with Ascendum, a co-op puzzle platformer where two characters must work together to get to the end of a level, where you can play in single player and control both at the same time as well. Another interesting mix of genres is Cardboard Town, one that adds a deck building or card-based twist to the city builder and looks neat.
We lived in this peaceful place for a long time, practicing our craft and using magic only as a last resort. Unfortunately, this time has come to an end. The Alliance was falling apart, and the mighty dark power was coming from the north.
Cynthia, hidden in the Moonshadow, looks like an ambitious third-person action-adventure game where our protagonist primarily uses a bow, but does look a little bit rough around the edges. A shopkeeping sim with a twist is Floating Islands of Nucifera, where you're not only selling items and upgrading your shop, but also exploring floating islands in your airship and battling enemies in turn-based combat, looking to be something a little different as well. GHOSTWARE Arena of the Dead is just a solid-looking retro first-person shooter, being a throwback to titles of the 90s and looks well made.
You will be here forever, fighting other dead souls for my carnal entertainment.
Similarly, illWill is also inspired by a classic first-person shooter, but not the ones that you might be thinking of, since this is more like Serious Sam throwing massive hordes of enemies at you rather than being like Quake or Doom. Another puzzle platformer of interest is Moonleap, one that does have pretty pixel art, dimension switching and plenty of spikes, looking well put together. The original Plantera was a neat idle sim where you're growing trees and bushes, harvesting the produce for gold to plant more trees and so on, so Plantera 2 Golden Acorn looks to be a bigger and better version of that.
A beginning without a story.
We just have a teaser for Vampire Survivors Tides of the Foscari, the next DLC to the insane hit, and looks promising.
Vampire's paradise. Sort of.
Let's kick off the top 5 with Dance of Cards, a very unique title even in the indie game space, since this is a gambling RPG of all things. Set on board a deadly cruise, you must gamble your way to survive the cruise, having to gain the trust of the other players while exploring the ship itself. Of course, this is similar to the gambling anime Kaiji Ultimate Survivor, but I haven't quite seen a game attempt to do this, making it a curiosity.
Approach, young settler, and discover the place where your new kingdom... Oh, for crying out loud. You get out of here now, go on, shoot, fly away. Where was I? Ah, yes. Come closer and discover how your story begins.
Another title that amazed the moment it was revealed is Fabledom, a gorgeous city builder title set in a fantasy kingdom. It looks absolutely wonderful, where you're growing and expanding your settlement from small hamlet to bustling kingdom, having to manage resources and to tend to the needs of your villagers. However, despite being touted as a laid-back city builder, there is combat in this where you need to train up an army to defend yourself against hostile neighbours and minions, but there's a whole fairy tale aspect to it, where you can seek out a prince or princess and live happily ever after. Me being me, of course, the side-scrolling pixel art title Rusted Moss has my attention, being a Metroidvania with a focus on ranged combat set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. In addition to the self-described twin-stick shooter combat, you do have to use a grappling hook as well, which, if done right, can certainly add to a game. Other than that, it gives me a little bit of a Rain World vibe with the setting, also having a choices matter type story at the center of it all, where you determine the fate of mankind, but of course, the challenging boss fights should be the highlight. I cannot believe that it's finally here, but the long in development 2D Zelda-style action-adventure title Hunt the Knight is releasing this week, being one of my most anticipated games of the year. This is a dark fantasy title. We are battling the forces of the Knight, a dark and mysterious faceless enemy where you play as a member of an order known as the Stalkers, who are sworn to protect the world. However, things are just a little bit more complicated since you are the daughter of a traitor to the Order, so I'm sure that your allegiance will get questioned by the very people that you work for, and not helping is that our heroine has the power to tap into dark magic as well. The combat looks awesome, with the boss designs and pixel art being on point as well, so definitely pick this up. Another hotly anticipated title that I've been looking forward to is this deck builder with tactical elements. We are drawing and placing units down on a grid, and then using the additional ability cards to enhance or directly attack your enemies. I love the art style here, having a story where you're adventuring in a frozen tundra with the goal of dispelling the eternal winter, where developer Deadpan Games made the excellent Cave Blazers, and artist Gazetta is a great follow on Twitter, which makes Wild Frost one of interest, with a special mention going to a Patreon member and indie game ultra fan Sean H, where you can find more upcoming deck builders in this video.